Hello y'all, this is Red Flood, a mod for Heartspire 4 set in a world where no one country was able to truly win World War I. We're going to play as the United States, who avoided the devastation of the Great War but couldn't avoid a political landscape change with the collapse of the Democratic Party, leading to the rise of a decade-long Republican-dominated government. The Depression has only worsened thanks to laissez-faire economics, but a solution could be approaching in the 1936 election. Looking at our starting national spirits, we have Land of the Free, Dust Bowl, Great Depression, Impoverished Military, Organized Crime, Prohibition, Klan Civil War, and Disjointed Government. We have quite a few problems we gotta deal with, but hopefully we'll be able to address them as we go through this playthrough and take care of these issues one at a time. For the military, in the Army, we have 32 divisions. The Navy has 21 fleets, with the USS Pennsylvania acting as the pride of the fleet, and our Air Force consists of 21 air wings. All in all, it's a relatively decently sized fighting force as a whole. Browsing through the Army commanders, there is plenty of generals, with Dwight Eisenhower and Mason Patrick acting as field marshals. As for the Navy, we are not lacking in leadership for that department at all, with a wide selection of admirals to pick from. The USA starts off with 4 subjects under our control, those being the Philippines, Haiti, occupied Nicaragua, and Panama. For our military technology, we got up-to-date weapons, motorized 1934 light tanks, basic artillery, and as for the aircraft, basic fighters, basic tactical bombers, up-to-date close air support, and up-to-date naval bombers. Let's begin the focus tree with Calm the Senate, which upon completion will make the effects of disjointed government not as bad. After a couple months of collecting political power, let's put it to use by justifying a war goal on our southern neighbor Mexico. In the focus tree, let's pack the courts. After that, work with the Republicans, work with the farmers, and then United Coalition, which will get rid of the disjointed government national spirit. Revolutionary Japan declared war on Japan. This means the Japanese Civil War has started. I'm curious to see who the victor will be. Congress approves the president's proposition to start the Hippo War by deploying National Guard in Louisiana. Hippos were brought over to the United States more than 2 decades ago. The results of this move were disastrous, with the local ecosystem being decimated and one hippopotamus even killing Senator Huey Long. Revolutionary Japan isn't exactly doing too well. In fact, their enemies are pushing forward in the home islands and may eventually win. We're sending volunteers to help out Vanguard Socialist Japan to get some army experience and attempt to prolong the war, but it's only 2 divisions, so I don't think they will stop everything. The English language version of a movie called Ismail Incense reaches the country. It is a so-called baguette western made in France. The movie features violence and futuristic cowboys using automobiles instead of horses. Let's allow the movie to gain some base stability. We're finished with the political part of the focus tree for now. Let's turn to another branch by starting Hunt Down Bonnie and Clyde. In Detroit, Michigan, author and prominent Klan associate Ernest Sevier Cox is found dead. On his nightstand was left a baseball card of Mickey Cochran. Our soldiers in Japan are holding the line, and we got some army experience too, but it seems that revolutionary Japan may be defeated soon. The Japanese Civil War is finished. Imperial Japan is victorious, as somewhat expected. A police check on the apartment of Mickey Cochran spirals out of control, resulting in a shootout that lasts for almost 4 hours, with Cochran at the end being revealed as the shooter and maybe in the midst of a mental breakdown. In custody, Cochran gets medical help and mentions mysterious black-clad men who kidnapped him. A psychiatrist present during these remarks about, quote, ghostly apparitions say they were just a figment of imagination. We're doing some army focuses now, beginning with review military spending, then increase the army's budget, construct the Pentagon, and let's go with Eisenhower's firepower, which we choose instead of Patton or MacArthur's options. The border situation in Texas. Police are hunting down the infamous criminal duo. Let's go with the first option that says the posters say they're wanted dead or dead. Bonnie and Clyde are pursued in a police chase, then crashed off the road after a coyote got involved. We have a couple different events that can happen due to chance after this one. A quick end. Clyde attempts to fire off his Tommy gun, but is shot in the chest before he can do it, and Bonnie is arrested after being tackled down. In Columbus, Georgia, what had started as a standard local Klan meeting turned into a massacre. A group of around 200 were shot at by 3 to 6 black cloak-clad men. 14 present at the meeting were dealt mortal wounds, and 31 were injured. Spain falls into a civil war, and in Georgia, ex-governor of the state, Clifford Walker, speaks on the radio expressing his deep sorrow over the events in Columbus and demands more radical police action. He also calls for the assailants to show themselves. Clifford Walker is found dead in his bed in the morning by his wife. A letter is left on the nightstand. The contents include insults to, quote, disgraced clowns in white robes, statements that say they are responsible for basically any event involving killing in black robes, and that they stand against a lot of isms they believe is rotting the nation. The letter ends with a stamp of a skull and crossbones. If you're curious who these people are historically, it's the Black Legion, a splinter group of the clan who, besides the black robes, also dress like pirates for some reason. The war goal is finished justifying on Mexico, so here we are, we're ready to invade Mexico as the United States. The Mexicans are putting up a good fight on the front lines, but we are winning for the most part, and we have like 3 naval invasions planned. While we're fighting in one war, let's prepare for the next one by justifying on the United Anti-Japanese Front who controls Vietnam. A few of our divisions landed at Veracruz, and they haven't encountered any opposition yet, so the path to Mexico City is wide open. The 1936 election, time to pick our candidate. 4 choices, but let's go with the bottom one, Howard Scott, who is representing Technocracy, and that will change our national focus tree a bit. With Scott becoming the new president, the ruling party ideology has changed to Accelerationist, which is represented by Technocracy Incorporated. To explain Technocracy and Howard Scott in our timeline, let's start with the former. Technocracy was a social movement which proposed the replacement of politicians and business people with scientists and engineers who had the technical knowledge to manage the economy, and at its peak in California alone, it had over 500,000 members. As for Howard Scott, he was an engineer and the founder of the movement, which itself was on the rise until he gave a disastrous speech in early 1933. As for his education, he had on-the-job training, but lacked any formal higher education. With the new party in power, we have a new political focus tree branch. Let's start with crash the price system, enact hyperinflation, let the banks collapse, and after all that, Technate shall save the day. World news about the election victory. This is the start of a, quote, scientific government. The U.S. has different political advisors depending on the party in power, so let's go through the accelerationist ones briefly. First is Howard Scott as head of government. We already know who he is. For Foreign Minister, Henry Morgenthau Jr. was the United States Secretary of the Treasury during most of the administration of FDR. The Economy Minister is Daniel Roper, who was the Secretary of Commerce under Franklin Roosevelt. For the Minister of the Interior, we have Melvin Hazen, who was a prominent DC official in the 1930s. Lastly, the head of military intelligence is James Farley, a politician from New York. The war with Mexico is over. Let's send some divisions to the Philippines to begin setting up for the invasion of Vietnam. I just discovered the United Kingdom is guaranteeing the anti-Japanese front, so change of plans, we're going to attack Taiwan. The last chapter of the war story, Johnny Got His Gun, is released. Within the story's fictional setting, the U.S. somehow joined the Entente, cutting the war short and giving it a clear victor. The war story's publisher is already experiencing record-setting sales, and the author has been approached about releasing his story as a full book. I just noticed Taiwan has a Chinese warlord clique as a puppet, so if we beat them, we basically get 2 countries for 1 war goal. That warlord clique I recently mentioned turned into Taiwan land, so now we gotta invade mainland China so we can win the war. We have a presence in China thanks to our victory. Let's take advantage of it and justify on the Nanjing national government. Because the United Kingdom guaranteed the anti-Japanese front to stop us from attacking, we unintentionally caused a war between them and Imperial Japan, who did actually go to war for Vietnam. Birth of the Technate is completed. Our country name becomes United Technates of America, and our flag also changes. Our next 5 focuses we'll do is 10-year plan, technocrat calendar, 24-hour services. Then in the foreign policy branch, we'll install Technocracy in the Philippines and domino theory. One interesting focus we're doing is Soviet of corporations, and looking to South America, it seems that Brazil is on the path of attempting to unite the entire continent. We're getting rid of the crash price system with economic revolution, and Mexico was released as a puppet so we can stop dealing with the resistance. The American war adventures continue in China, with our next target being the Fujian Commune, and after them their neighbor the Liangguang clique. We're hitting the Commune defensive lines hard, and good news for us, they didn't really expect naval invasions from Taiwan, so we can have our Marines just walk into their capital. Checking on Europe, the League Solar fights the Third International, and the Indomarium has beaten Russia, resulting in a giant Ruthenian empire. We got a little sidetracked, but finally Technocracy was installed in the Philippines. First they were our puppet, now they are our puppet with the same ideology as us. A Disney cartoon. Pete starts a protest or strike at Mickey's factory, who is found asleep but awakened by a young girl who is supposed to be a secretary. Mickey awakens after her warning, greeting Pete and the workers with a cartoony pistol. They try to escape but are greeted by Goofy and Donald, dressed in paramilitary uniforms and armed. Things then descend into cartoon violence. At the end, workers return to their jobs. Mickey rewards the girl with a medal, and a caption on the screen reads, Report union activity to a trusted adult and be a good American, just like her. In the focus tree, let's do some Supreme Court packing, then work with politicians instead of sweep away the Senate cause base stability seems more beneficial than party popularity. We're fighting the United Kingdom and their faction. Great Britain shouldn't be defended too much since they have been fighting Japan for a while, and they may be away dealing with that. Thanks to our war with the UK, it gives us an excuse to march into the Dominion of Canada. Let's go ahead and justify on Imperial Japan. We don't have to wait too long, only 30 days for the justification to be done. We won a naval battle against the British. Fortunately, avant-garde France lets us use their ports to store our fleet so we can maintain coverage all around the Atlantic. We landed in England and Wales, and the biggest opposition we ran into is the British and the Irish. Victory is soon to be ours, we just gotta get to Glasgow in Scotland. Without wide-scale Commonwealth of Nations support, the anti-Japanese front just couldn't hold on and they fell to the Japanese. We won that war and the peace conference has arrived. We're gonna take all of the Dominion of Canada's land and make a bunch of puppets. It is done, all of Canada is now the United Technates of America. I may have gone a little overboard in creating an army of nations as subjects of our country. All of the places we have had wars with are actually possible war goals in our focus tree, so that's why we've been going after them in particular, but there is some others we will get to with the focus Central American coups. The first country in Central America to be dealt with thanks to step 1 is Guatemala, which is just below Mexico. The coup is a success with the revolution being victorious. The next step is to just annex the country, which will happen in this event. The only independent nations in Central America left are Honduras and Costa Rica. We're going to invade both of them. We're battling in Asia. This is the showdown between the Shogunate of Japan and the United Technates of America. Naval invasions are the method we're going to use to get on the home islands. We don't seem to be winning anywhere currently, but we'll just keep trying until one of our divisions succeeds. We made a landing at Kagoshima. Let's reinforce the beachhead by sending an entire army to defend it. Some of our soldiers managed to get right outside the Japanese capital of Tokyo. Let's try to take it. We did take Tokyo, but I don't think we'll hold it because the enemy just dropped the entire army on us. This offensive is definitely a slog, but we are making some progress, and it helps that the Shogunate is running low on manpower. The focus form the North American Technate is completed. Our name changes to the North American Technate, unsurprisingly, and the flag changes again. The most perfect union, a continent, is united under Technocracy, and a new type of people is created, the North Americans. All are one. We beat Japan and created some new puppets from the peace conference. We have Juche Korea, and going down to Vietnam, we have the Coconut Kingdom. The Technate has come far. First it was just the US, now it has an entire continent and influence in both Asia and in Europe. The video is going to end here. If you enjoyed the mod, make sure to check it out in the description below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe, leave a comment, have an awesome day. I'll see y'all later. Bye.